Hello, everybody. These days we are being told that post corona epidemic, when things open up and we go back to normal, India has a great future and India will become a center for manufacturing as China is now the bad boy of the world. Now, this story is being fed to us. Now, it's a good story, it's a very hope and enthusiasm generating story. And hope and stories are very important for a emerging, for a developing nation. But unfortunately, fantasies which are divorced from ground realities, these can be at times dangerous because they lead to a lot of disappointment and cynicism in the end once things do not materialize as they were promised. So let us check the ground realities. What is the situation? How do different facts stack up? Now, if there's an investor who is to spend billions of dollars on setup in India, he will do all kinds of accounting, taxation, governance, all kinds of due diligence he will do. And the best brains, best consultants from India and abroad would be at his disposal. So what does he see? He sees that in UPA two time the country was full of scandals, allegations of corruption, courts interfering, investigations being launched on the high and mighty. Fortunately, that part is over. There are no longer economic scandals ever since the NDA government has come. But what is the situation of domestic businesses? You see, it is all right to always talk about FDI and be very enamored about the foreign direct investment. But what about domestic investment? What about domestic businesses? Will domestic businesses give certificate of things going great in last few years? I'm afraid not. Second is the nature of the state in India. A group like Tata had to run away from Bengal thanks to the wayward nature of a government in the state. A tax department, because their demands were not met, at times not the genuine demands, they threw out a company like Nokia, which is a Finnish company which is known for its very high compliance standards. Today, Nokia, which brought the telephones into India, the mobile phones, are no longer there. They have shut shop. Take a case of Vodafone. You impose a tax of $2 billion dollars on Vodafone. They go up to your highest court, and the Supreme Court upholds the Vodafone plea. But then you amend the act by a retrospective effect and levy the tax on Vodafone. Today, a company like Vodafone, which is the $53 billion company, which is the eighth largest company on London Stock Exchange, that is doddering, and the share is trading at 3 or 4 rupees, and it's on the verge of bankruptcy. We do not know whether Vodafone, a company which exists in more than 150 countries, will exist in India or not. All because you chose to amend the law. Take the case of Walmart. Walmart paid $16 billion of direct investment into retail sector when they bought Flipkart. And within days, you changed the law in the garb of helping the domestic e-commerce companies. And what do you get? You get Walmart looking very silly as if they have made gross overpayment for this transaction. So with this kind of flip-flop, it is not something which gives confidence to the investors. And in case of, interestingly, both Vodafone and Walmart, who were the beneficiaries? In telecom, Reliance Jio. In Walmart case, Reliance Fresh. Now this kind of optics, it may be unintended, but at times the unintended consequences in life have much more harmful effect than the intended harm you intend to do. Now, okay, let's for the moment see what is happening in the investment climate in recent. The biggest investment has come from Lakshmi Narayan Mittal, ArcelorMittal. They bought over Essar Steel and paid 42,000 crores. And an insolvency resolution which was to take place maximum as per law in 270 days took more than 500 days. All right, we forget that. The investment is in a core sector like steel. Now, steel, coal, electricity, transportation, these are core sectors, and through forward and backward linkages, they generate a lot of employments, lot of opportunities, lot of multiplier effect on wealth, and GDP takes place because of sector. Now, Alan Mittal of ArcelorMittal still continues to hold an Indian passport. Leaders all across the world quote him. They're very happy to meet him, sit with him, and so that he can invest in the country. But if my information is correct, Mr. Mittal, ever since cutting that check of 42,000 crore, is struggling to meet the Prime Minister. Now, it is not essential to meet the Prime Minister. If your country is very system driven, very rule of law driven, it's something like Scandinavia where the rules and the law is more important than the person. But unfortunately, in our system, and especially in the present regime, it's a very PM centric and Prime Minister office centric regime. Nothing moves without the concurrence and consent of the Prime Minister. That be so, a business coming out and putting billions of dollars at stake in a complex, uncertain, very, very risky market like India wants to have some kind of a comfort. If the system doesn't give the comfort, he needs a comfort from the top political leadership. And if the Prime Minister is incommunicado, he doesn't meet the people, or he meets only his chosen people, there becomes a problem. There becomes a problem of communication. And who meets the incoming investors? Some ministers, whereas all investors know that these ministers do not carry that kind of clout in the present regime. Who else meets? The bureaucrats. Now, put all of this together and add these exaggerated stories. The stories may be exaggerated about social discord on Hindu-Muslim polarization, NRC, CAA, Kashmir, etc. The optics which it creates, is it very healthy? I'm afraid not. Now, forget the past, present, also see who are the other countries which are in race for getting your investment. Bangladesh. You see, incidentally, you'll be surprised, the country which we liberated in 1971 is about to overtake you in GDP per capita. It has already overtaken you in terms of social indicators of infant mortality, health, etc. Thailand. Thailand has the land of smiles, has always been a very popular investors' destination. To give you a sense of how we indulge in this rampant fantasy and how a section of media promotes this fantasy about India being a preferred destination and this theory, oh, where will the money go? Vietnam is 1/10 the size of India. Samsung came much before to India, then it went to Vietnam. And today's Samsung produces only $10 to $12 billion worth of goods for domestic Indian market. Whereas in Vietnamese economy, it produces goods worth $60 billion and most of them for export market. It is because of the enabling environment which they have given. Now let's move from comparison to our basic thing. What does a business want? Business wants that their contracts should be sacrosanct, that the regime should be stable, the policy environment should be stable, and their contracts should be enforceable. And in the much touted ease of doing business, the World Bank, in terms of the World Bank parameters, where do we stand? We are 163rd out of 193 countries. Now, you know how difficult it is to enforce contracts in India. And you know how long, winding, procedure-oriented, over-formalized judicial processes. Now, judiciary is it's not a cat which can be belled, it's a tiger. Now, does the government has the wherewithal or the willpower or that kind of bandwidth to take on the judiciary and bring out the reforms? Maybe in a more robust system of arbitration or commercial tribunals with strict timelines is the way to go. But then someone has to do some real work about this. When this government came, there was a very, very positive slogan given that minimum government, maximum governance. Has that happened? As any business person will tell you, that a lot of old policy procedures and government oversight has been removed, but a lot of other things have made an entry through the front door in names of digitalization or through back door. And we are more or less at the same level where the pressure of compliance is regulatory overkill is hemming in the industry. Then let us see, today the external environment is such that whether it's a bureaucrat or a banker, no matter how well intentioned he may be, no matter how bright he may be, and there are some of the brightest minds in today are in the banking sector and are in the civil services, but they are the most underperforming because the system does not allow them to perform. Now there are four brakes on each wheel of the economy, which is the CBI, the four C's, which is what we call CBI, CVC, CAG, and the courts. So whenever any decision any bureaucrat or banker takes, his mind is always working on what the implication of this decision is in terms of vigilance or policing or CBI aspects. So does the government have that mindset to free banking and the bureaucracy from this over-policed, over-regulated and scared institutions, and allow them to take decisions, because all commercial decisions will be discretionary. So have a more robust and have more positive oversight when it's a question of fraud or pilferage. There's no question of compromise. But questioning every decision and just tying up the bureaucracy on the banking, it is not the right way. One can think that you can attract investment and do something spectacular. So we have to use this crisis of corona as an opportunity. Get down to some real work has to be done. We have to fix a lot of basics. And we have to take very clear, very firm, and very tangible decisions. Only fantasies and slogans will not serve the purpose. Otherwise, like all businesses, foreign direct investors or foreign companies or foreign multinationals will keep on paying lip service to you. They'll be nice to you, but they will not put any serious money into the company, and India would remain either a mandi, which it was for even East India Company onwards for foreigners, or a casino, whereby a lot of portfolio investment in share markets will come because the size of the Indian share market is small. Companies are very inadequately capped, and it's very easy to take that market on a seesaw ride and make a money during this, times of taking the market up and hammering the shares and bringing it down, then, and so on and so forth. So to avoid becoming a mere marketplace for the foreigners or a casino for the foreign JP Morgans and Morgan Stanleys and Goldman Sachs of the world, we have to now do something serious. Let's consider it as an opportunity. I hope the government listens, and let's fix our basics first. Things will follow. Rest, we are a very innovative people. We are perfectly capable of then creating a kind of an atmosphere which would be very, very pro investment and growth. Thank you very much.